Just 2 races remain in our chase for the inaugural Power V8 Cup Series Championship, and one of the last stops of the season brings us back to the 2.5-mile superspeedway behemoth that is the Talladega Superspeedway. Hello everyone and welcome again back to some more V8 Cup Series action. Today we're tuned in live for the CorvetteParts.net 500 here from Talladega. One of the biggest wildcard races of the season. Just one more race before we get down to the championship finale in Middle Georgia. 42 cars are going to go do battle here at one of the craziest, most action-packed, and fastest super speedways on Earth. Let's go ahead and get you down trackside for all the latest headlines going into today's race. Coming into the second to last race of the season, we'll go ahead and take a look at how our championship gauntlet standings are lining up. There wasn't too much of a change as only 2 of our 10 championship gauntlet contenders were able to finish in the points at last week's race at Martinsville. Christian Russell will continue to hold his 259 points as the current gauntlet leader. He'll still hold a 21-point lead over the likes of Ethan Hayden, 25 points over Seishin Tomioka, and Chris White being the last of the drivers to stay within a 30-point gap of the points lead, being back by 28 points. These guys still need a lot to go their way, and for Christian Russell to have some bad luck over these next 2 races, but still for these guys, they possibly have the most realistic chance of still being able to claim the championship gauntlet title. Justin Henley has been able to move himself up a few positions thanks to his top 10 last week at Martinsville. He now finds himself 33 points on back from our championship leader. And Ruben Gonzalez and Roberto Crown Jr. still continue to be tied, both 37 points off of our points leader. The 2 of them only managing to get themselves a 3rd place finish each so far in the first 6 races of the gauntlet. Brett Bishop, the first driver to be outside of a points distance, a 1 race points distance of the points leader, and if he isn't able to improve upon that gap and get his points gap down to 40 points or less, he will mathematically be eliminated from the championship gauntlet contention. Same goes to the next 2 drivers, Owen Scott and James Fletcher, both being 52 and 53 points off of the leader. These guys in the back going to have some work to do, and this race is going to be do or die for everyone on 7th on back, and they have to make sure that Christian Russell doesn't score any points in this race to really make sure that they can still have a chance going into the last race in Middle Georgia. Owen Scott has at least set himself up to start the best out of any of the championship gauntlet contenders, as he will be our pole sitter for today's race. Before we get into today's race, we'll go ahead and take a look at how the lineup of today's CorvetteParts.net 500 is going to be set. As mentioned earlier, Owen Scott has landed himself on the pole and will lead us down to the green with Christian Vargas to his outside. Vargas, of course, won the summer race at Daytona earlier in the season, so definitely look out for that number 08 car, as he will look to be a threat. He always is on the super speedways. Row 2 will see Devon Fair and Myron Feldler, followed by Chris White and Already Alejo in row 3. Chris White, one of 2 of the championship gauntlet contenders inside of the top 5. White hoping to get himself a very good points haul going into today's race. Row 4 will see the likes of Herbert Oaks III and Arvin Basic, and JQ Halleck and Chris Parker will round out our top 10. Lining up in row 6 will be the likes of Michael Canaday and rookie Riley Spurley. Spurley has been recently announced. He will be the driver for pole position racing full-time next season, and he'll be racing here at Talladega and Middle Georgia to round out the season and get himself and the team some extra starts. Riley Spurley looking pretty impressive, as he was able to qualify in the top 15 at his very first start, so definitely watch out for him, as he will look to possibly be an upset underdog. Row 7 will see the likes of Nelson Reeves and Carl Untersweffer. And in row 8, we'll find Ruben Gonzalez and Adam Wilson. Gonzalez going to be starting in the last points paying position, but he's definitely going to look to improve upon that spot later today. In the 9th row, another gauntlet contender in Christian Russell will line up on the inside, outside of Priya McShane. And rounding out our top 20 will be Adrian Rojas and Ben Crouch. Just outside of those top 20 positions are going to include the likes of Jeff Bolton and Dylan Hayden, followed by Brett Bishop and James Fletcher, a pair of Gauntlet contenders making up the 12th row, and another contender behind them in Seishin Tomioka. He'll line up on the 13th row outside of Tari Lowell. Row 14 will have the likes of Alexander Rowe and Mitchell Collins, and rounding out our top 30 will be last week's winner Leland Hill and Josh Moore. Just outside of the top 30, lining up in row 16, will be the likes of John Ritson and Roberto Crown Jr., another Gauntlet contender, starting a little bit deeper in the field. Behind them, we'll have the likes of Miles Mashburn and Nick Kennedy, a pair of team owners. And behind them in row 18, we'll have the likes of Cody Goforth and Blake Parker. Goforth, very happy that he was able to make it into today's race, given that this is his home track, and he is for sure looking to redeem himself after the disappointing results at last week at Martinsville, fighting for the win with David Dixon, but unfortunately him and Dixon both wrecked out, and that is what allowed Leland Hill to sneak on by and steal the win from them. Then in the next row, we'll have the likes of Weston Roper and Xander Howell, a pair of Leland Motorsports Toyotas. Roper transitioned over from Elite Forces Racing to Leland Motorsports for the last 2 races of the season, and he'll line up on the 37th spot. And rounding out the top 40 will be the likes of John McFadden and Zachary Fitzwater Sr. Finally, rounding out our field today, the last 2 of our Gauntlet contenders will be the likes of Ethan Hayden and Justin Henley. Hayden definitely going to have a lot of work to do. Surprisingly, he's had a lot of success at Daytona, obviously winning the very first race of the season, the Royalty Graphics 500, and even landed the pole for the second Daytona race. But Talladega has just not been a good track for him, as he started dead last at the first race here. He'll start second to last at the next race. Hayden can improve and make his way through pattern, possibly just sandbagging a little bit, trying to make sure that he avoids all the rest of trouble out ahead of him. We had a total of 51 entries for this race, 9 drivers. Of those 9, it would include the likes of Riley Hill, Cameron Smith, Dale Cole Jr., Landon Laudenbach, Solomon Sheridan, David Dixon, Thomas Martin, and Zachary Morello. And the last of those names would also include the likes of Roger James. A couple of people really disappointed to see it. David Dixon has to be absolutely incredible, especially because came very close to winning last week's race, got wrecked at the end, and then coming here not even able to qualify for. Tough to see if David Dixon will have to see if he can bounce back in the final race of the season. Alright, let's go down trackside for the second to last race of the year, the Corvette Parts 500 here at Talladega.
Drivers, start your engines!
Okay, Ben, keep fired up when you're ready, bud. They can fire it in. Bring it up.
Alright, field is fired up and ready to get set for today's race. We'll go ahead and get you our track facts going into this one here at Talladega. Another 47 lap race, just like our first race here earlier in the year. Pit window looking to be around 25 to 30 laps. Once again, we are looking at a one-stop race for the majority of the field, as long as we don't get too many cautions, but you'll never be able to count that out here at Talladega. The temperature today, pretty cool day here in Alabama, 52 degrees Fahrenheit, with the wind just coming in at about 5 miles per hour from the northeast direction. Shouldn't be too much of a factor. One thing that will be a factor here is the big one, and it is not if it will happen, it is when it happens. As well, this track, it just gets a little bit too fast, and these guys think they have more room than what they actually have, and a lot of the times we see some very huge wrecks and incidents. Take a look at our Gauntlet contenders today and where they line up. Owen Scott has put himself on the pole in the highest of our championship Gauntlet contenders. Chris White right behind him, a couple rows back in that 5th place position. And then Ruben Gonzalez, the last of the Gauntlet contenders to start in the points paying spots. Christian Russell being the last of them to start in the top 20. A couple more rows down, you'll see Brett Bishop and James Fletcher, Seishin Tomioka, and some others. Roberto Crown Jr. a little bit deeper in the field, and then we'll see the likes of Ethan Hayden and Justin Henley be the last 2. They will start from the very last row of this race. It's going to be very interesting to see how all the intensity, all the tempers from last week, how everything is going to come into play here at the world's fastest super speedway. As, well, these drivers are definitely going to give it their all for the next 47 laps of this race. Pace car comes down pit road, but it'll still be a little bit before we get to the green flag, as the start-finish line is much further down the tri-oval as it would be on your average oval track. But nonetheless, Owen Scott hits the restart box, and the green flag is out in the air here at Talladega. Well, Owen Scott would lead the majority of the first lap, but Herbert Oaks is going to bring us back to the line and get us the first lap lead of this race. He's going to be one of many leaders we see today, as this track always has constant lead changes and swapping of the positions. Right now, though, field trying to get pretty settled in. We're seeing a lot of 3, even some 4-wide racing throughout the pack here, as we've got Nelson Reeves trying to make a move to the inside on Michael Kennedy and JQ Halleck. Halleck and Kennedy will be teammates next year, but for right now, they have no obligation to work together. 2 of the Fitzwater Australia Racing cars actually leading that inside line. Ruben Gonzalez already making his way up to the front. So is Christian Russell. Good bit of our Gauntlet contenders up here. Gonzalez going to try to block as much as he can to be able to help out his teammate. Nelson Reeves going to come around to lead lap 2. So far, some very good pack racing right now, field. Just keeping it calm and collected, 3 wide all around. And right now, Fitzwater Australia Racing in control of this race with their 2 cars out in front, 1-2. We've got... Wait, what? Why is that? Never mind about that. Sorry about that. Anyways, the number 76 right now trying to block the 39 of Christian Russell. Russell getting up to the front. This is not what the other Gauntlet contenders want to see, as obviously he already has a pretty good lead over the good bit of them, and if he gets himself some laps led, possibly the most laps led, and stays out of trouble, well, it'll be very difficult for really anybody to have a fighting shot with Russell coming into the last race next week. Meanwhile, right now, Adam Wilson trying to help out a little 3-car tandem. Nelson Reeves just staying in control of this pack right now so far. He and Herbert Oaks III have been the only ones to lead in this race, but Adam Wilson trying to make a change to that. He's got some help from Jeff Bullen on the bottom, and look at Brett Bishop already making his way through the pack as well. You're just going to see many changes be swapped all throughout the race, as right now Nelson Reeves just trying to stay out in front and in control of this pack right now. Very chaotic, but also calm. Reeves blocking, using every bit of track that he can, going up high, going up low, just pretty much trying to block every lane, and so far it's been working for him, as he will continue to lead another lap. Nelson Reeves showing a lot of strength here on the super speedways for this race. Brett Bishop, now the highest Gauntlet contender. He is currently in 2nd position. Now is going to make a move to the bottom, try to get himself a lap lead. Bishop needs to get himself a good batch of points this race, as, well, he's the first of 3 drivers to be outside a race's distance worth of points. Remember, 40 points is the maximum amount of points you can score in a race here in the V8 Cup Series. And right now, Bishop finds himself 43 points outside to the good of our points leader. So if he doesn't score any points this race, his championship hopes are going to be done, along with the likes of Owen Scott and James Fletcher. Bishop's going to need to score at least 3, as the caution is actually out here at Talladega. Field is going to get woed down. We'll go ahead and take a look. Looks like Weston Roper got himself involved, and so did Myron Felder, possibly Christian Vargas in there too. Field going to come to a stop. Brett Bishop is your leader, and we'll go ahead and get you a replay, see exactly what happened to bring out the caution. take a look at what has brought us out under the yellow. Weston Roper going to try to get himself cleared up of the 46 and 08, but it's just not going to work. Not sure if that was a spotter miscommunication. Oh, actually, Blake Parker forces himself in there and actually gets Owen Scott involved in that as well. Blake Parker tries coming up the track and forces the 52 of Roper into the wall. Another angle here, the 07 of Blake Parker just going to squeeze Weston Roper up into Christian Vargas and Owen Scott. Not good news for Owen Scott, as he has suffered a good bit of damage, our pole sitter. And of course, as mentioned earlier, he is needing a good haul of points. So very unfortunate to see for Owen Scott, as he has already suffered a good bit of damage to his car for this race. Another angle here, Blake Parker just going to come up on the 52. Again, possibly a spotter error. But for the most part, Weston Roper going to find himself facing the wrong way, and with a good bit of damage to his car along with some others. Caution is out for the first time today, a multi-car incident involving the likes of Parker, Roper, Vargas, Owen Scott, and Myron Felder. As you'll see here, these cars all come together, but not too huge of a wreck. Everyone should be able to continue on, but obviously some not very happy about the damages they've sustained. Caution is out here on lap 6 for the first time today.
The Life Invader tablet.
It's time to dock.
The future is now. Life Invader, the social networking site, announces its new tablet. It's not
Technology.
It's your life.
Technology.
Live it the way you want. With a device that tells you what to do.
It's time to dock.
The Life Invader tablet.
Invasion never felt so good.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Talladega Superspeedway for the Corvette Parts.net 500. Under caution for the first time today due to the lap 6 incident involving the likes of Blake Parker, Christian Vargas, the 15 of Owen Scott, Myron Felder, and Weston Roper. All 5 of these drivers are going to be able to continue on, albeit a good bit of them suffering from some damages. They were able to come down pit road and get those fixed. I believe every car also going to be on the lead lap as well. A good chunk of cars, about a dozen cars or so, did come down pit road, 4 of them being championship gauntlet contenders, among those being the 12 of Brett Bishop, 19 of Ethan Hayden, the 25 of James Fletcher, and Owen Scott, of course, came down pit road to repair those damages from the wreck that he suffered. Like we said, every single car still within this race, all the cars that were in the wreck, are able to continue on, get their damages repaired, and try to keep themselves within it here at Talladega. Because remember, even if you do have some damage suffered, you still have a chance. The big one can and more than likely will happen here. So as long as you don't get involved in that, you still got yourself a shot at a decent points paying finish. So never say never. It's never too late in the V8 Cup Series, and I think it's definitely going to be proven here. Do not count out those 5 cars that were out in the wreck. Even with it looking so bad for Owen Scott, I still think there's a chance for him to get some decent points and keep himself within that championship gauntlet fight. Meanwhile, it allows Nelson Reeves to reclaim the lead once more, as he's been able to lead the most amount of laps today, and he's going to continue to do so when he gets us to the restart zone. Pace car going to dive in for the second time today, and in a few seconds here, we're going to get ourselves restarted on lap 9. Reeves approaches the restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and we are back underway here at Talladega. Definitely takes a good second for these cars to get up to speed, as you're seeing that second lane trying to be formed, while these guys are still going through the gears and getting themselves up at full speed. Now on lap 10, Nelson Reeves, as we've mentioned, has led the most laps today, and has looked to be the car in control of the field. But right now, Xander Howell looking to make a move to the bottom, so is Zachary Fitzwater Sr. Many cars coming down low and trying to make their way up towards the front. Reeves, though, just going to hang tight and sit in control of this pack for the time being, as they're still getting themselves up to speed. It will take about a lap and a half to get these cars fully up to the speeds that they are capable of, and as fast as possible. Here comes Jeff Bolton now, trying to make a move down low, making it 3 wide for that 3rd position, as Nelson Reeves will come back around to lead once more yet again. Reeves looking like he is for sure trying to knock off the most laps led today here. 4 wide for 3rd. Watch out for John Ritson on that high side, as he's actually able to hold it. You got to remember, Talladega is notorious. A lot of cars in their earlier spring race got up in the wall. That was a big issue for them, was trying to make sure that they would not get in the wall and you know, put themselves in any unnecessary danger. As right now, the top pack, few rows 3 wide deep, and then for the rest of the pack, it's mostly single file action as they are still just trying to make their way up to the front here. Nelson Reeves actually losing out on the lead. Xander Howell going to come through and try to get himself a lap lead. Michael Canaday, though, actually may come in to spoil those plans. Yes, he will. Canaday will come ahead and get himself a lap lead. He's got Christian Russell behind him once more. Russell looking very strong in today's race. He's been up at the top 10 for a good chunk of our start so far. And here comes Seishin Tomioka as well, another guy trying to keep himself within reach of these championship gauntlet positions. Seeing a good bit of gauntlet contenders just kind of staying in the back, playing it safe. Ethan Hayden, Brett Bishop, James Fletcher, all just trying to keep themselves out of trouble, as these guys definitely get racier and racier up towards the front. Meanwhile, some other guys having some more aggressive strategies. Tomioka and Chris White among the two, trying to make sure they keep themselves up at the front for the majority of the race. And Christian Russell, even though he is our gauntlet points leader, he's got a good bit of a gap to where he can afford to run an aggressive strategy here at Talladega. Right now, Michael Canaday currently leading and out in front in control of the pack, 4 wide for what appears to be 4th. Ben Crouch getting a good bit of momentum on that high side. Watch out for Christian Russell, actually. He is very close to that wall. But again, they're going to keep it going. Oh, watch out, 4 wide. Ruben Gonzalez and Jeff Bolton moving themselves up the track. They keep squinching and squeezing themselves more and more. I'm not sure how this is going to work or if they'll be able to hold it. Gonzalez and Bolton running very close together. Ruben Gonzalez just trying to keep himself in line. Maybe seeing some cars trying to go 5 wide here, and I don't know how that's going to work. 4 wide is sketchy enough, but 5 wide is a death sentence. As you are seeing here, Canaday continuing to lead. He will lead another lap once more, coming back to the stripe. He's got his teammate Ray McShane right behind him. McShane still trying to get herself a ride landed for next season. She does not have any plans announced yet. And I think she's one of the drivers that definitely deserves another shot in the VA Cup Series, and hopefully somebody will pick her up. There's still a few rides that are open and have not announced any plans, but hoping that Priya McShane can find herself a good ride for next season. JQ Halleck also as well coming to that inside line. 2 of the Jeff Bolton racing cars. Nick Kennedy is behind Halleck, giving her a push. Some good 4 wide racing throughout the pack right now. It's wild, but it is also organized. Ooh, but it's getting a little bit sketchier here towards the middle of the pack. Tari Lowell trying to keep himself some space, as Michael Canaday is now trying to make a threat for most laps led. But here comes Nick Kennedy towards the bottom, the Jeff Bolton Racing Machine driver. Kennedy's had an up and down season. When he has been able to make it the races, he's shown a lot of flashes of brilliance and some consistency, but he's also gotten himself into some wrecks and some DNQ streaks as well. So Nick Kennedy hoping to get himself a really good finish here at Talladega, show some of that super speedway strength and muscle. Oh, trouble in the back! It's the big one! Huge wreck. Ben Crouch up and over on Jeff Bolton as he continues to flip. Ruben Gonzalez involved as well. That is not going to be good for him. Caution is going to come out. Race back to the line. Looks like Cody Goforth somehow getting in front of his Fitzwater Australia Racing owner, Zachary Fitzwater, and Goforth will lead us back to the yellow here at his home race. So some absolutely crazy events here. We just saw a huge wreck involving Ben Crouch and Jeff Bolton, along with Ruben Gonzalez. Gonzalez looks like his day more than likely going to be done, or at least his hopes of getting a good points finish more than likely out of the window. Caution is out here on lap 16. We'll go ahead and get you a replay of the gigantic incident. 4 wide proved to be a little bit too much for some of these mid-pack drivers. Ruben Gonzalez going to continue to squeeze up the track with a push from Roberto Crown Jr. And that just causes a similar accident, but much bigger than the one we saw. These cars literally riding on top of each other. Ben Crouch almost went over the fence with how he was on top of that number 34 car. Definitely a wild and scary accident nonetheless. Take another look here. You're going to see Gonzalez squeeze himself up along Bolton and Ben Crouch, and that's just going to cause a huge chain reaction up against the wall, squeezing against each other, causing those cars to make themselves flip up and over, and Ben Crouch just goes on top of the 34, and they go over the 26. Just an absolutely vicious wreck. Then Ben Crouch flips over and over and over again until coming to a rest on all four wheels. Another angle of the vicious incident here. Unfortunately for Ruben Gonzalez, well, it's looking like his championship gauntlet hopes could potentially be up in smoke with this incident, as he has two cars literally go over him in the 03 and the 34. Very, very crazy incident indeed. Go on board with already Alejo. He's going to have quite the view of this wreck. My goodness. See how close Chris White gets to this. This definitely, I'm sure, gave him a little bit of a juice here. Came very close to getting himself involved in that. Shortly after the caution, we're going to actually see another incident with a lot of our front runners here. Priya McShane and Carl Untesweather going to clip together. Looks like McShane gets into the 43 and then takes them out. And big incident for some of those cars. A lot of these cars in the back having to woe up, and it caused a huge amount of damage. Ethan Hayden and Justin Henley would get themselves involved as well in that, and they have a tremendous amount of damage. Chris White as well. Christian Russell gets hit. Owen Scott gets more damage from this. Many a cars totaled, trying to get woed up and coming back to the caution, and a lot of them being gauntlet contenders. Very unfortunate sight to see for many of these drivers. Going to see more wreck after the line. Just Priya McShane goes down on the 43 of Untesweather and hooks him for some reason, and that will cause a huge chain reaction of cars behind him. Canada gets spun around. Many cars trying to get up in there have nowhere to go. Ritson makes a lot of contact. Hayden gets into Ritson, and it just causes a gigantic stack up and a domino effect between many of those cars behind them. Actually, I believe 5 of our championship gauntlet contenders somehow caught up just in that little stack up alone. As, well, that is definitely going to shake up how the championship race goes for today. Caution is out for the second time today, involving the vicious incident of Jeff Bolton, Ruben Gonzalez, Ben Crouch, and many others. Very, very scary incident, these two riding on top of each other, but luckily able to stay within the track and land on all four wheels. We'll be right back after these messages.
Adrenaline junkie? Isn't it time you tried Ego Chaser and took things to the limit? Enjoy these sexy shots of extreme sports and base jumping. But we mostly sell energy bars to desperate middle-aged men who haven't played sports for years, but are suddenly obsessed with triathlons. Hey, you could be a super athlete, even though you have an office job and a family you ignore. You don't have time for real friends. You're a warrior. It's an energy bar that's all about you. How big is your Ego Chaser?
Caution being out, it's looking like pit road is going to be an incredibly busy place, as now many of the cars either just now getting within their fuel windows or have a tremendous amount of damages that need to be repaired. Clearly the tempers were not resolved from last week's race at Martinsville, and they have somehow carried over to the Talladega Super Speedway. As I don't believe we're going to have a single car stay out on the racetrack. Looking like everyone is going to come down pit road for their services, as yep, not one single car is staying out. So you see all the cars now coming down pit road. 2 of the Fitzwater Australia cars, they were out in the front when the caution came out. We'll see how they come off with the race coming back to the line. You're also seeing a few cars getting retired as well from some of those that were in that gigantic crash a couple laps ago. Goforth is out of the pits now, and he will look to be the first one off of pit road. He will hold his lead. Fitzwater will just barely edge out the 89 of John McFadden. Dylan Hayden going to come home 4th, and looks like Josh Moore going to be in the top 5 of those making it off of pit road. Lots of cars here, though, still coming in. We'll see if the 15 has retired, the 26 has retired. So for those guys, their day is done. Christian Russell still looking to get himself out back on the track and hopefully get some more points. But for Owen Scott, it looks like his championship hopes have unfortunately come to an end here at Talladega. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Talladega Superspeedway under caution for the second time today, involving a few major incidents. The first incident we saw that would bring out the actual yellow involving Ben Crouch, Already Alejo, Ruben Gonzalez, Jeff Bolton, and Herbert Oaks III. Those would be the main ones that would bring out the yellow, and all of them except for Herbert Oaks mentioned are going to be out of the race. Now, a tremendous amount of cars will have to retire after the stack-up coming back with a lot of these cars getting woed up. Of those being Blake Parker, Owen Scott, John Ritson, Ethan Hayden, Chris White, Carl Untesweffer, Arvin Basic, Miles Mashburn, and Justin Henley, all going to be out of this race as well. Many Gauntlet contenders going to be out of this race as well. Scott, Hayden, White, and Justin Henley going to be out, and for some of those guys like Owen Scott, you can pretty much kiss his championship hopes goodbye, as it is now mathematically impossible for him to claim the championship lead at Middle Georgia. So unfortunately for Owen Scott, his championship gauntlet hopes are up in smoke. For Ruben Gonzalez, it is most likely looking the same, but he still has a little bit of hope. He's going to need Christian Russell to not score more than 3 points. So we'll see if that can happen for Ruben Gonzalez. Russell was involved in that accident, but he is able to keep on going. Pace car comes in. We just have 27 total cars in this race now. That's how many we've lost from that one, from the giant stack up. We'll see how the racing goes to the end as Cody Goforth and Zachary Fitzwater will lead us down to the green for the third time today. Restart is in the air. Green flag is back out. Goforth still getting his car up to speed as we are approaching the halfway mark of this race, coming towards lap 20. I'm sure we're not going to see too many cars try to make some three-wide moves, especially considering this low line going to look very dominant. McFadden and Roberto Crown trying to be the ones to make it work, but it doesn't appear to be working out for them. Taking a look at our Gauntlet contenders that are still in this race, I think we have about 5 looking. We've got about half of our Gauntlet contenders still within this race. Here comes Fitzy for the lead, as now he's going to try to go ahead and get himself some lap sled. Zachary Fitzwater moving under his own driver, Cody Goforth. He said, all right, Cody, you got the lead at your home race. Now I want to go ahead and get myself some lap sled, possibly also help with those engine temperatures too, keep them cool down. As Fitzwater going to chop down low on the 3 to block him, and he will come around to lead lap 20. A lot of the field here now pretty spread out for the most part. Currently holding the last point spot is Myron Felder, but he's getting passed by Xander Howell right now. James Fletcher finds himself outside of those point spots, and Christian Russell deep in this little backpack here. He is definitely outside of those points, so it's looking really good for guys like Brett Bishop, Roberto Crown, Seishin Tomioka. They're going to need to get a good bit of more points in order to really capitalize on it, but Brett Bishop at least doing what he needs to do, keeping himself in the top 5 right now. A finish around these positions would definitely get himself in a better spot at Middle Georgia to possibly come ahead and steal the championship. Right now, though, Fitzwater hanging on to his own, and he is currently in front, leading this little group of cars. About, I would say, 12, 13-ish cars involved in this pack right here. As you're seeing, Seishin Tomioka trying to fight along with Xander Howell. Tomioka, one of the last of the Gauntlet contenders within the points, same with Roberto Crown. They just do not have enough help to get themselves up to the front, and they have a tiny little bit of damage to their cars as well, so that definitely will not help. They're probably going to need something to happen to this front group of cars, as we're seeing Alexander Rowe make his way up to the front, possibly trying to lead a lap here, but not looking quite like Rowe is going to be able to have that spot. Brett Bishop sticks the nose in there now, trying to get the lead. He needs to get as many points as possible in this race, as he is about 43 points off of the points lead. 3 wide for first. Here comes Devon Fair on the inside with some help. Devon Fair going to lead that lap. Definitely been a chaotic race, to say the least so far, but I think we're going to get ourselves a pretty good race to the finish here with these group of cars going at it as hard as they can. As you see here, looks like Xander Howell making his way through. He appears to have a faster car than a lot of these guys in the back. I don't think he's going to have enough help or speed to be able to get up to the front. He'll definitely need a caution to keep himself in contention, but Xander Howell's car looking like it's working pretty well for him for the time being. Josh Moore now in the number 3, making his way up to the front. This is looking to be one of Josh Moore's last races. We do not believe he is going to be returning next season to any of the Power Series for both V8 Cup and Thunder Lights, so Moore going to make the most of his last starts. He's been running pretty decent in some of the final few races, and there he goes, getting himself a lap led at Talladega in the famous number 3. Meanwhile, though, John McFadden now wants himself a little bit of turn of the fun. I think we're just going to see a revolving door of leaders between this pack of 12 here. I'm pretty sure we're looking at, it's actually a pack of 11, as Alexander Rowe currently in that 12th spot. See a good bit of Gauntlet contenders taking up those last few points right there. James Fletcher, he needs a lot more than what he's got currently, as he's about 53 points back from Christian Russell's lead. So only getting himself a couple of points, it's not really going to do much for him in terms of his Gauntlet hopes. He's got to get up to this top pack if he wants a shot at being able to win that Gauntlet championship. 3 wide, and it looks like Chris Parker went ahead and just barely nudged his way to the lead for that lap. Yes, he did. Chris Parker getting himself a lap led. But right now, Brett Bishop trying to come back on them, as he is currently looking to get himself up to the front and lead some more laps. He wants to get the most laps led. If he could get somewhere similar to a Grand Slam total, or just get a Grand Slam total, that will really help him out going into the final race. And it might honestly put him up in that second position. If he was able to get all 40 points, he would just be 3 points off of Christian Russell's lead. That would be a huge leap, and quite a buzzer beater performance here, I guess you would say. Very clutch it would be for Brett Bishop, as right now he's just trying to stay out in front and get himself some laps led. Keep ticking down those laps, as we're seeing a little bit of some 3 wide going on. Cody Goforth trying to make something happen with John McFadden, but McFadden is going to ditch Goforth on that top line. A lot of underdogs here in this top pack. You're seeing we've got guys like Adrian Rojas, who's just had a very, very piss-poor season for the most part. Hasn't had too much luck go his way. Chris Parker as well. And Leland Hill, once again, won last week, and he's looking to put himself into contention here this week, running incredibly well up at the front. Same for Cody Goforth, too. Both those guys were battling it out for the win for the majority of last week's race, and, well, here they are up at the front, giving themselves another shot, possibly getting the win once more. Speaking of Moore, Josh Moore is going to go ahead and get that lap led. Very close racing here as we're approaching 20 to go in this race. I have a feeling we'll more than likely go green to the end, with a lot of these cars towards the back just trying to maintain their pace and keep up. You're seeing Riley Spurley here in his debut race. Had a little bit of damage, but it could be going much worse. He could not be in the race at all, seeing the fates of what happened to many of these other drivers. And, well, Christian Russell definitely looks like he's not going to be scoring any points unless we see something huge happen here in this front pack, which is possible, but it is less likely than you would think. Right now, though, Josh Moore out in front, once again, getting himself some more laps led. So far, Nelson Reeves has led the most laps in today's race. It doesn't look like, though, Reeves will be able to lead anymore, as he has tremendous damage to his car and is basically just out there making laps. So right now you're seeing here Cody Goforth trying to make that bottom lane work, but just doesn't have as much momentum as that top line. There's just not as many cars in that pack, looking like 7 on the top compared to 4 on the bottom. As now Moore will go down to the bottom, try to make it 5 and 6. Chris Parker also going to move to the bottom and give that some more leeway to that line. Goforth giving a good push to Josh Moore, comes right down in front of Alexander Rowe. Going to help out Josh Moore here. Moore's just been tacking on those laps so far. He's been the one that's been able to control this little pack for the past few laps, as we are seeing here. Some good racing all around. It definitely won't be too long before this group catches up to Herbert Oaks. As you're seeing now, he is within the shot. He has a tremendous amount of damage, as well as his teammate and owner, Christian Russell. Brett Bishop goes down low with the 84. Bishop trying to get to the inside of Alexander Rowe, possibly, wasting no time. Bishop really trying to get as many of those laps as he could possibly get led. So far, our fastest lap of the race actually belongs to Josh Moore as well, but Moore going to get held up by the 38 of Oaks. Oaks going to block the leaders, and then may just allow Brett Bishop to sneak on the high side. He's got to run. But Herbert Oaks with some incredibly dangerous driving, hindering a lot of the pack right now, and now he's going to hold up that top line. Moore was able to lead that lap once more, but I don't think he's going to be able to lead from here on with Alexander Rowe getting that top lane. And yeah, this high line needs to just get rid of Herbert Oaks, as it's going to really cost him. Cody Goforth trying to get back up with his teammate, but Brett Bishop losing out a tremendous amount, still stuck behind the 38. Can't get away from him. Now I think the 12 going to try to move to the bottom. Yes, he does, but not before it costs him about 10 positions. With the main pack now being split up just a little bit, it may give a shot for some of these other guys to come in, but I don't think so. As you see here, that pack trying to work as well together. Two of the Leland Motorsports cars up at the front of it. But still, Alexander Rowe now going to come home. He will actually lead the first lap of the race for himself. With Leland Hill now right behind him at the chops. Cody Goforth and Brett Bishop trying to keep up with the pack. Hoping that Bishop and Goforth can get caught back up with that little group there. Otherwise, it would be very unfortunate to see this lead pack slim down even more. As you're seeing here, everyone just trying to keep up as much as they can. Could be possible towards the end of this race they catch up to Vargas and Reeves, but for the time being, they still have a good bit of room before that is a possibility. Goforth just trying to hang on with the pack, and it's looking like Bishop more than likely going to lose out on the draft unless we get a wreck here or some sort. Right now, it's going to be pretty calm between our leaders. Alexander Rowe right now in front and in control of these guys, doing everything he can to stay up at the front, wanting to get himself another win on the season. Remember, he did win at Indianapolis in a very upset underdog fashion earlier in the season. And right now out in front in Talladega, he was just announced he will be the driver for David Dixon's new Southern Cross Racing starting up next season. So he'll be moving over in a full-time ride with Honda as the satellite team for Sinclair Canada Racing. So Rowe very excited about that, and right now proving that he is getting himself some good reps for that ride. Goforth has been able to get himself caught back up to the main pack, but Brett Bishop, I don't think is going to be as fortunate. He'll most likely drop back a good bit, and this is really not going to help him with his Gauntlet hopes. I think he'll just barely be within a race's length if he finishes right here in this position at the end of the race. He should get himself about, I want to say, 6 points. So he'll still need a Grand Slam type performance at Middle Georgia, but hey, at least for the time being, he's still within that championship running and has a mathematical shot. He is right now the closest of the Gauntlet contenders to that lead pack. Otherwise, the only other car inside the points right now, you see James Fletcher in 13th and Roberto Crown just forced kind of by himself riding around, only scoring 1 point for the time being. Rowe getting himself another lap led. But that doesn't look to appear for much longer. Chris Parker gets a good push from a dodged camaraderie there in Zachary Fitzwater Sr. It's been, you know, for half of Fitzwater Australia Racing, it's been going very well today for Goforth and Fitzwater. For the other half, not so much. Gonzalez out of the race and his championship hopes more than likely gone. There'll still be a shot for him technically. He's still within the 40 points. As long as Russell doesn't find a way to score any points in this race, which doesn't look very likely, I don't believe we're going to see Ruben Gonzalez fall just outside of that points margin just yet. Meanwhile, here comes Fitzy getting himself another lap led, and now Leland Hill trying to make a move to the inside, but Cody Goforth actually getting there to help out his teammate and make sure that that bottom line is there for him. Chris Parker getting pretty close to the wall. Saw a little bit of some four-wide racing for a second. As you see two of the Owen Scott racing cars there, his teammate Devon Fair, and it actually looks like we will catch up to this pack of lap traffic. Both Reeves and Christian Vargas in the middle, swapping spots to cool the engines. We'll see if this will slow the pack down enough to possibly allow Brett Bishop to catch back up. Goforth, though, going to go underneath the 59 of Zachary Fitzwater. Goforth trying to lead and dominate at his home track here at Talladega. As right now he'll move down to the bottom and defend that spot. Cody Goforth getting himself another lap led. Cars approach in the pack though. They move to the bottom. Goforth moves up high with his teammate, and that is going to screw over the bottom lane. Leland Hill, Josh Moore, all of those guys getting forced to have to come to almost a stop, it feels like. As you see now, a few of these guys trying to get around the lappers as quick as they can. Cody Goforth and Fitzwater made a very smart move to stay in that middle lane, and that's going to allow him to get right on by the lappers, maybe even continue to hold up some of these guys. Yes, it will. That inside line still getting hold up. Vargas kind of gets himself integrated within that pack. But nonetheless, still holding up some of the likes of Josh Moore. And even with those guys holding the pack up, I don't think it's going to be enough for Brett Bishop to be able to catch up. So here comes Fitzwater Australia. They've been running very, very strong today. Right now, up at the front, and with a 1-2. As Fitzy, he has been known to have a strong displeasure for the super speedways, but right now I think he is very, very content with how his team is running. 1-2 at the moment, and Cody Goforth trying to get redemption for last week's upset, as he really looked like he was primed to win that race at Martinsville had he just not squeezed David Dixon into Station Tomioka, coming to just 3 to go. Fitzy now trying to make a move on his teammate, get some cool air to that system, and that may allow Alexander Rowe to sneak on by, steal that second spot as well. Fitzy will go up top to help out his teammate, and Rowe's it's actually going to allow Rowe to stick the nose in there. He's getting a pretty good run from that inside line. I actually know who led that lap. It's Alexander Rowe. Rowe getting himself another lap led so far in this race. With just 10 laps to go now, we are getting down to the wire here. These cars were able to ditch the 76 and 08, so they are out of the pack and out of the picture. Herbert Oaks, once again, just looking to be the next lap car, so they may catch up to him, but he's about halfway across the track compared to where they are, so I don't think he'll be too much of a factor here, coming up to just 9 laps to go. John McFadden out in front right now, but definitely not in control. It's anybody's game here in this pack of 10 cars right here. The entire top 10, every single one of them has an equal shot at winning this race. It should be interesting to see who's going to go and take home the win here in today's race. Chris Parker right now currently leads and got himself another lap led there. As right now he is just trying to fly and cruise his way to victory. It's all about who's going to be able to control this lead pack right here. Dylan Hayden looking to the bottom, trying to get himself a good run. Get some help from Josh Moore, potentially Moore trying to reel him in. And Leland Hill going for 2 wins in a row. We've seen a couple of drivers win multiple wins this season, but we haven't seen anybody go back-to-back yet. And that would be quite the sight to see if Leland Hill would be able to go 2 in a row at 2 very drastically different tracks, Martinsville and Talladega, pretty much polar opposites of each other in terms of track layout. But right now, Chris Parker trying to stay out in front and in control with just 8 laps to go here. Many of these guys in this top 10 just trying to get themselves settled and set up for when they want to be able to make the move. Obviously, there's still a lot of time left in this race. 3 wide for the lead, it's looking. As here comes Josh Moore. John McFadden thought about going under Moore, but he ended up thinking better of it. Moore, though, out in front and in the lead right now. That famous number 3 in the lead at Talladega. It doesn't get more iconic than that. As Josh Moore trying to win in one of his swan song races, trying to go out on top as a winner in the V8 Cup Series. But right now, John McFadden trying to put it into that and possibly get his first career win in the V8 Cup and give himself some good momentum going into next season. Remember, McFadden will be racing full-time next year with Ronnie Racing. So he'll begin the call up, and the field is actually going to approach Herbert Oaks. He is going to be a factor. We'll see if they'll be able to get around him, and we'll see if he holds up anybody of significance here. If there's a particular line he goes, he's going to go to the bottom. That's going to screw over Fitzy. McFadden going to move over to the top line, and he's going to be able to swing on around the lap traffic. Herbert Oaks moves up to the middle line. Now he's going to hold those guys up. McFadden has slingshotted his way around the 38 of Herbert Oaks, but it has now made him into a sitting duck, as you can see here. Now the pack's just going to come in and freight train him and get a tremendous run. Still a couple cars not able to get around the 38. Josh Moore and Leland Hill finding themselves still held up by that Robin Hood Racing machine, and Hayden and Chris Parker definitely didn't get themselves too good of a run out of there as well, but I think they should be able to get themselves compiled back up to where they can get back up to the top 5 here. As you're seeing, they're running him down. Here comes the outside lane. 2 Dodges, Devon Fair and Cody Goforth running to the outside of John McFadden. Alexander Rowe going to hook up with the 89, and it's actually looking like Rowe maybe coming down to pit road. He is. Alexander Rowe needing to pit. I'm not sure if he didn't fuel enough or if pit stops are still going to be a factor, but Alexander Rowe dropping out of the race for the lead to make sure he can make it to the end. So that's definitely going to cause some drama here as we come up with just 5 laps to go. Alexander Rowe having to come down to pit road. We'll see if that's the right call or if that was just a mistake on his crew. As right now, Cody Goforth getting help from his teammate. Once again, him and Fitzy just been able to hook up with each other whenever they can, and they've been running incredibly strong. Goforth really wants to get the win here at his home race, especially after the upsetting way he lost out last week's race. That would be insane redemption for Cody Goforth. He's looking strong and primed to do so, but now here comes Josh Moore dipping down pit road. It may possibly be the Chevys that are having some issues making their way to the end with the pits, as another driver will drop out of the race for the lead. Coming up to just 4 laps to go. Goforth going to lead that lap, but Fitzy now going to make the switcheroo on him. On his own driver. Right now, Dodge claims the entire top 4 spots, as they've been running incredible. And speaking of Dodge, here comes Adam Wilson coming up on the lappers. Goforth and Fitzwater going to go around the 00 of Wilson. Wilson goes all the way to the bottom, and it's going to hold up Devon Fair. Now he's just going to move out of the way so he doesn't hold up too many more people. We've got 4 wide for the time being. Goforth stuck in the high side. Many cars coming down pit road. Fitzwater coming out from the lead. He's got to come down pit road now, make his stops. We'll see if the rest of these drivers can make it here, as now is just down to a 5-horse race. Many of these cars coming down pit road with just 3 laps to go. Chris Parker versus Cody Goforth. Will they be able to have enough fuel to make it to the end? It's been a wacky race so far. We have no idea if these guys are going to be able to continue on. Remember, the pit stops happened around lap 15, so it was right on that cusp of the fuel window. And with how it may be going, well, they might have pitted the field may have pitted just a little bit too early. They might not have saved enough. They were probably banking on another caution happening too. Brent Bishop right now going to get lapped. McFadden and Adrian Rojas going to come down pit road. Coming to just 2 laps to go. Cody Goforth out in front, trying to maneuver his way around this lap traffic. It's a race between him and Chris Parker, and Devon Fair trying to get himself up to the front as well and possibly be a factor. But man, oh man, this race has been turned upside down on his head. The fuel strategy has made it into a race of who can go the longest. Will they run out of fuel? Will they have to pit on the last lap? That would be devastating. I don't see much of a point in doing so. You may as well just try to make it to the end. But we'll see what Goforth and Parker does. They are going to stay out, it looks. Coming to the white flag. Chris Parker now going to the inside of Cody Goforth. Is he making his move too early? We'll have to wait and see. White flag in the air for Chris Parker. They are just going to say, screw it, and run to the finish. If they run out, they run out. Goforth, though, trying to get himself a good bit of momentum to get himself a push. He may be running out of fuel, actually. He's getting passed by Brett Bishop. I'm not 100% sure. Goforth slowing more and more. And I'm not sure what's going on with the 60, but he doesn't appear to have enough of a run to get up to the 33. He's definitely out of fuel. I think the 01 is too, so as long as Chris Parker can make it, but Parker looks to be out of fuel himself. Parker's out of gas. Goforth has to come down pit road. He's out. Devon Fair is out. Parker is going to try to fume it across the line. Nobody's within his reach. Chris Parker, spitting on fumes, is going to win here at Talladega. An absolutely chaotic finish. One we definitely could not see coming. Chris Parker running on fumes to the end, going to be able to be the one that makes it all the way to the race distance. Getting themselves to the line. We'll have to see where some of these other guys finish. I believe these guys are a lap down. And here we go, coming to the line. Here comes Fitzy and John McFadden. Looks like Devon Fair is going to get second. Goforth may have just gotten third. Yes, he did. That was an incredibly close finish right there for third. But nonetheless, wow. Chris Parker is going to be your winner here at Talladega, running on fumes. He's on empty, but he was the one to be able to stretch his fuel load all the way to the finish. We'll see if any of our other Gauntlet contenders made it in the points. Tomioka got a point, along with James Fletcher getting a couple of points. Not enough, though, to help out his Gauntlet hopes. He is more than likely, he will be eliminated from the championship Gauntlet contention. And Brett Bishop, I think, just got enough points to keep himself within contention for next week's race. A little bit of damage there. I think we might have seen some retaliation, but nonetheless, congratulations to Chris Parker on his first career win. All right, with that being said, that very chaotic and hectic race coming down to the end, fuel strategy being the main decider, and Chris Parker would be the one to prove that he could go all the way with that one pit stop. He would end up winning the race, spitting on fumes, crossing the line. Devon Fair would come home in second off of pit road, with Cody Goforth as well being able to claim that third position. Unfortunate for Goforth, the second race in a row where he loses out in a heartbreaking fashion. But still, 2 races, 2 top 3 finishes for Cody Goforth. That is something that is very impressive. Him and the Fitzwater Australia racing team as a whole have really been able to turn it around in this second half of the season. And Cody Goforth has done a tremendous job within the last 2 races, still coming home top 3 at his home race. His team owner would finish right behind him in fourth. Zachary Fitzwater also raced very well with Cody Goforth. Him and Goforth were hooked up for a good bit of the race and proved to be one of the top contenders for the win. Just the fuel strategy did not work in their favor. John McFadden would round out the top 5, followed by Josh Moore in 6th, Adrian Rojas coming home in 7th, Xander Howell in 8th, Alexander Rowe running in 9th, and Leland Hill, our winner last week, rounds out the top 10. Just outside of those top 10 positions include the likes of Dylan Hayden in 11th, followed by Brett Bishop in car number 12, finishing in 12th. He'd just barely be able to get himself enough points to still keep himself in mathematical contention coming into next week's race, the last race of the season at Middle Georgia. It'll still need a lot to go his way and almost a miracle type performance if he wants to be able to win the championship, but that mathematical chance is there in his favor. James Fletcher would finish behind him in 13th. Unfortunate for Fletcher, he would not get enough points to continue his odds of winning the championship, so Fletcher will be mathematically eliminated from contention as well. Tari Lowell would come home in 14th, and Seishin Tomioka would round out the final of the points-paying spots, and he would be the first car to go a lap down. Tomioka still has a shot as well going into next week at Middle Georgia to possibly win the championship. JQ Halleck would finish just outside of those points-paying positions, followed by Michael Canaday in 17th. Roberto Crown Jr. coming home in 18th, still hasn't been able to improve upon his point standings ever since the first race of the Gauntlet at Watkins Glen. He has not been able to finish in the points. Still has a shot at Middle Georgia, but again, along with many of the other drivers, they're going to need a lot to go his way and in his favor at that race. Mitchell Collins would come home 19th, and Riley Spurley in his debut race would round out the top 20. Not a bad race there for the pole position rookie and their full-time driver for next season. Our Gauntlet leader, Christian Russell, would come home in the 21st position, followed by Weston Roper, then Myron Felder, Adam Wilson, and Christian Vargas. Vargas being the last of the drivers to finish 1 lap down. Adam Wilson would go 1 lap down. Christian Vargas would go 2 laps down along with Nelson Reeves. And Herbert Oaks III would finish in 27th, 3 laps down. He would be the final of the drivers to be able to actually finish the race. Everyone from then on would DNF out of it from either the lap 16 incidents that happened, including the likes of Nick Kennedy, Priya McShane, and Carl Untersweffer, rounding out the top 30. John Ritson, Ethan Hayden, Justin Henley, Miles Mashburn, Arvin Basic, Chris White, Blake Parker, Owen Scott, Ruben Gonzalez, and Ben Crouch also all retiring from those lap 16 accidents. Many Gauntlet contenders involved in that, including Ethan Hayden, Justin Henley, Chris White, and Ruben Gonzalez, along with Owen Scott. And Owen Scott, unfortunately for him, his chances of being able to possibly win the championship are also eliminated, along with James Fletcher. And finally, rounding out the last 2 positions of the field would be Jeff Bolton and already Alejo, involved in that very scary incident where both Bolton and Ben Crouch flipped over the number 2 car of already Alejo and flipped multiple times in that wreck. Alright, before we wrap things up, we will take a look at how the Gauntlet standings are lining up coming into the final race of the season. For the 3rd race in a row, Christian Russell has neither gained or lost out on any of his points leads, still holding a 21-point lead over the likes of Ethan Hayden, and holding now a 24-point lead over Seishin Tomioka, as Tomioka was able to score 1 point to his total. And then Chris White behind him in the 4th position, behind by 28 points. Justin Henley still behind by 33. And Ruben Gonzalez and Roberto Crown Jr. still back by 37. And Brett Bishop, with his 12th place finish today, was able to get himself inside of that 40-point gap to still have a chance at being able to win the championship. He will need literally everything to go his way at Middle Georgia next week, and for everything to go the wrong way for Christian Russell and for any of the other drivers ahead of him in the points. But again, that chance, the possibility, it is there. It's slim and it is very unlikely, but it is there. As for these last 2 drivers, James Fletcher and Owen Scott, they are officially eliminated from title contention as they have fallen out of that 1 race's length of points, and well, we only have 1 more race in the season to go. So what does this mean for many of the Gauntlet contenders? Well, for Christian Russell, all he really needs to do, if he gets a decent points paying position, if he's able to score 4th over the other drivers, I believe he would have that championship locked up. Realistically, he doesn't need to get himself too big of a points finish, but if he can finish in the points, I believe that would more than likely lock himself in for the championship. As for our other drivers, Ethan Hayden, he's going to need to come home with at least a 4th place finish with some laps led, or a 3rd place finish, and hopes that Russell scores no points. Tomioka going to need to be able to score 2nd place or better, or have some laps led go in his favor as well and get some bonus points. And Chris White going to need a little bit more, possibly going to need to just flat out win, or at least finish in that top 3 and get himself most laps led and or a fastest lap. Justin Henley pretty much just going to need to go out and win the entire race and be able to get himself either most laps led or fastest lap. And then for these last drivers, Gonzalez, Crown Jr., and Brett Bishop, they are just going to need to flat out have a Grand Slam type performance where they can score the maximum amount of points possible, and hopes that Christian Russell gets no points in order to win the championship. Now, it is possible for Russell to not score points in Middle Georgia. He did not have a strong performance there earlier in the season. And watch out for Justin Henley because, well, he was the driver that won in his very first race at Middle Georgia. He will definitely be one to look out for, along with some of the other short track aces that are still within the top 8 in the championship Gauntlet standings. But nonetheless, it's going to get very chaotic, and we are coming down to the wire. Just one last race remains in our inaugural V8 Cup Series season, and it will be the championship main event at Middle Georgia. Special pre-race coverage will be provided for the event, and you will not want to miss what will be the biggest race of the season. We will crown our very first Power V8 Cup Series champion in a few weeks' time. Thank you everyone once again for tuning in to some more Power V8 Cup Series action. We hope you enjoyed today's coverage here at Talladega, and we will be sure to see you for the season finale at Middle Georgia. You will not want to miss it. We'll see you there when we get there.